All right, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. We got to talk about Rebecca Yarros' Fourth Wing and what it means for Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, so Rebecca Yarros wrote a banger, man. It was called Fourth Wing, and it was an amazing Dragon Rider University book. But it has mass. It's a romance book specifically for people who enjoy the objectification of men, which I do not. Hey, eyes up here, right? And so it's a really, so I read the first one, but I could not read the second one. And one of the reasons why was I listened to it on, I got it, through my local library through their app, and I listened to it. And most of the time, I'm just got my headphones on, but I was, driving someone there, and I put on my book, and I was embarrassed. I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot this book is like, hey, here's a bunch of cool fantasy stuff. Now here's an objectification of a man." Like I was like, "Oh man, this is bad." Right. So, and the reality is, I just didn't, and I had to like endure these parts of the book where, like, oh, what if we did objectification of men exactly the way they did in the pulp noir in the 1940s, where they objectified women? And I'm like, that's not cool, man. We should be doing that, right? Like, it was not good, right? So but this thing has absolutely caught on fire, and there are people going to midnight book releases. That means Dungeons and Dragons community cannot ignore it. We need to make a space where Romantasy is comfortable and welcome within Dungeons and Dragons, because it's a massive community, right? And we want Dungeons and Dragons to succeed. We want it to be a four-pillar intellectual property, right? We want everybody, young and old, male and female, to be ready to come to Dungeons and Dragons and find a space for them. And right now, we have no space for Romantasy in Dungeons and Dragons. How would you even run this stuff at conventions, right? And then how would you build this out? Like, how would you go about seeking out people who like the objectification of men, right? It's very problematic, right? But this isn't niche, right? This is huge. This is macro level, huge market, right? And Dungeons and Dragons does not ignore markets, right? Dungeons and Dragons has never made its bones and moved forward by ignoring massive groups of people who like fantasy. We swept in Lord of the Rings. We swept in Brandon Sanderson's people. We swept in every Game of Thrones fans. We swept in the Witcher fans, right? And we can't leave these people out in the cold, right? This is not going to be easy, but I think we need to make a space for Fourth Wing fans.